All right, ever been in that situation?
But
You know, where you just meet someone and instantly you're like, nope, not a fan.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
Or totally the opposite, right? Where it's like, bam,
yeah,
instant connection.
Definitely. It's like you just vibe with them, you know?
It's fascinating, isn't it? Like, what's going on there? And what if those, like, intense reactions, what if they say more about us than about the other person?
Hmm. I like where you're going with this.
Well, buckle up, listeners, because today we're going deep into this idea called the mirror principle.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
It really is. It comes from the work of Mohammed Bazir. And it basically says that the people we have those strong reactions to, good or bad, they're kind of like reflections of our own, inner world.
Like a mirror reflecting back at us.
Exactly. And get this, understanding this principle can be a total game changer. Seriously, for self-awareness, for your relationships, even in your career. So, to help us unpack all of this, we have with us an expert on this whole mirror principle thing. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. Glad to dive into this. It's a really fascinating concept.
Absolutely. And I've got like a total confession to kick things off. You know how some people are like super organized?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I used to work with someone and their desk was like a total disaster zone. Piles of papers everywhere, coffee mugs. I mean, it drove me nuts.
Can you even focus in that kind of chaos?
It's funny, though, because I realized later my reaction wasn't really about their mess. It was about my own anxieties about control.
Yeah.
Like I had to have everything just so.
Ah, I see. You were projecting your own need for order onto their workspace.
So is that the mirror principle in action right there?
It absolutely is. Like textbook example, we often project our own stuff, right?
Yeah.
Our struggles, our values, even our insecurities.
We project them onto other people.
Yeah, to other people. And it's like we're seeing ourselves reflected back in how we see them.
Oh, okay. Hold on. So is everyone just like walking around projecting their issues onto each other all the time?
Haha. Well, it can kind of feel that way sometimes, right?
It does.
But honestly, projection, it gets a bad rap, but it's actually a totally normal psychological defense mechanism.
A defense mechanism.
Yep. Often it's unconscious, and, we all do it to some extent. Think of it like this. Our minds are constantly trying to protect us from, like, uncomfortable emotions or truths about ourselves, so it kind of attributes them to someone else.
So instead of facing, like, something difficult about ourselves.
We kind of put it out there on someone else.
Interesting. So it's not necessarily about blaming the other person then, right?
No, not at all.
It's more about realizing that there's like something deeper going on with us.
Exactly. It's about understanding the root cause. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does this whole mirror principle thing, how does it like tie into personal growth?
Ah, that's the exciting part.
You mentioned these feedback loops earlier, and I'm curious, like, how could an annoying coworker actually be a growth opportunity?
Okay, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you have this colleague who, like, constantly interrupts you. Every time you're trying to speak, they jump in.
Ugh, the worst.
So frustrating, right? But instead of just letting that frustration, simmer, ask yourself, what is my reaction telling me about myself?
Oh, interesting.
Right. Like maybe you need to get better at setting boundaries,
Yeah.
being more assertive.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you have this deep-seated fear of not being heard.
That is a really interesting way to look at it. So instead of just getting like annoyed and staying stuck there.
You can use the situation to learn something about yourself.
And how I communicate.
Exactly. And, it's not about excusing their behavior.
Right.
It's about using that annoying situation, that trigger, as a mirror to really examine your own patterns and those areas where you might be able to grow.
Okay, make total sense.
Yeah.
But let's get real for a sec, okay? Bazir uses this example in his work about, being really annoyed by a friend who's constantly bragging.
Oh, yeah, we all know that person.
How can someone, like, actually apply the mirror principle to a situation like that?
Yeah.
In real life?
Well, it all starts with some honest self-reflection. Really ask yourself, what specifically about their bragging is triggering me?
Okay, so getting specific.
Yeah. Is it like their tone? Is it the topics they choose to brag about? The context?
Oh,
and
wait.
once you've kind of pinned that down, then ask yourself, why is that bothering me?
So like digging beneath the surface reaction.
Absolutely. To uncover what's really going on.
Okay.
Maybe you're feeling insecure about your own accomplishments, or maybe you just value humility more than self-promotion, right? And their behavior kind of clashes with that, your value system.
Right. But how do I then deal with a friend? Like, I can't exactly just say to them, hey, your bragging is like triggering my insecurities.
You don't have to. Sometimes just that understanding, just understanding the root cause of your reaction,
Yeah.
it can really help you reframe the situation. You might even find yourself having more compassion for your friend
How so?
because you realize maybe they're overcompensating for their own insecurities. You see?
Ah, so it turns into something else entirely.
Yeah, it can.
So I can either like change how I interact with them
Or maybe you learn something super valuable about yourself.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah. It's all about using the mirror principle as a tool for self-discovery and for building those more fulfilling relationships.
Powerful stuff. So to wrap this all up for our listeners,
Yeah.
the mirror principle, it's not about blaming ourselves
No,
or making excuses for other people's behavior.
definitely not.
It's about using our reactions to other people
Hmm.
as a guide to deeper self-knowledge.
Absolutely. It's a continuous process, reflecting and growing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So for everyone listening out there, I want you to think about someone who really pushes your buttons,
Yeah, that person.
maybe makes you react strongly.
Oh.
What could that reaction be teaching you about yourself? Pay attention this week. You might be surprised by what you discover.
The things you learn.
It's a journey. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.